There we go. Ahoy para. I know my Czech is terrible, but really, really good to be here. Guys, now, before I start, I want to ask you this question. At Christmas, or in the holidays, do you get this question from your family or friends? What exactly do you do? And I've put a few examples on here about what my friends think I do, what my clients think I do, what society thinks I do. But ultimately, when it comes to e-commerce, I think a lot of the time we tend to get it wrong in terms of what we actually do. And for me, it's pretty simple. We need to keep people happy. Now, whether you are a brand that needs to keep your customers happy, whether you are an agency who needs to keep your clients happy, maybe you're a technology provider that needs to keep clients happy, ultimately, in 2024, we need to keep people happy. And unfortunately, conversion rate isn't the only thing that's going to do that. As we know with conversion rate, it doesn't mean the be-all and end-all when it comes to your bottom line in terms of your profitability. So what actually is important? So today, guys, what I'd like to do is talk about conversion rate, why it's not the whole part of the puzzle in 2024, and show you some examples of what me and my team do in terms of going a little bit beyond when it comes to that conversion rate. So a little bit about me. I am the co-founder of a Shopify Plus agency called Ecommerce. We've been going now for about 9 years. I'm based in Warwickshire in the UK. And I also run something called the Ecom Collab Club, which are a series of events across the world where e-commerce brands, e-commerce agencies, and e-commerce tech providers get together very informally and have panels and chats about all things e-com. We work with Shopify Plus, as I mentioned, and then a lot of the Shopify-related technology. So things like, for example, Klaviyo, Recharge, Rebuy, all of those tools are kind of baked into the service that we provide to the clients that we work with. And there are 16 people on my team, and there are just some awards here that we've won just to show off. So I thought I'd throw those in there as well. So let's kind of get down to it then. Now, what I wanted to do first of all is show you this slide. And this is me having a bit of a joke, really, about conversion rate optimization. And what it explains is, if any of you have got a mother or an auntie, you'll always know that situation where something happens and they pick up the phone. And they tell their friend, oh, did you hear about Susan? Yeah, she did that thing at the weekend. Oh, tut. And then the phone call then gets repeated to auntie's friend and the friend after that. And you kind of get this situation where you get broken telephone syndrome. So the person four or five times down the way, they are getting a very different story to what the original story was in the first place. And for me, that is exactly what has happened with conversion rate optimization. It started off as something very robust. It started off as something where it wasn't just about conversion rate. It was about all the other different factors like average order value. It was about purchase frequency and looking at all of those metrics and how that impacted on your bottom line as a retailer. But over time, what has happened is that's broken down. It's been oversimplified. And I would say we've got this obsession, haven't we? If you go onto LinkedIn at any point, you will see people talking about conversion rate. Our conversion rate went from 2% to 3%. Great, but what's the rest of the story? And this is something that I'm really passionate about in terms of what we do in our company, because for me, we use another term which is called customer value optimization. Now, what on earth does that mean? Well, like you can see here, because my company is called Blend, Blender, Smoothie, it's a terrible, again, another terrible joke, so my apologies, but ultimately, these things on here, so your traffic, your purchase frequency, your retention rate, your conversion rate, your gross margin, your lifetime value in relation to your cost per acquisition, as well as your AOV, all of these, as we all know in e-commerce, go into that end point about how profitable you are as a business when it comes to e-commerce. And the thing is with customer value optimization is you're taking the core principle of CRO to say, look, what can we do better on site? But what you're also doing then is you're feeding that with other streams, qualitative ideas and quantitative ideas that come in from the data analysis that you can do. So what actually does that look like? So I've called this the new old way. And all of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today in terms of the tools that you can use that move beyond just the standard A/B testing, let's try doing this on site to try and optimize, they're all pretty old things. But unfortunately, because of this broken telephone syndrome, a lot of these have fallen off the plate. They're things that people don't do as much as they should. And in terms of the way that we can work with these are some of the examples that we can talk about how we use them. So when it comes to working with a client, if we have a client come in, say, for example, who is on Shopify Plus, maybe they're doing, say, sort of $15 million a year, they might come to us with the issue and say, look, guys, we really need our bottom line profit to increase by 25% in a year. So what we will do as a team is say, well, look, looking at the site, looking at the data that we've got, there are some research projects that we can do to come up with some data-backed ideas about the things that we can do then to improve those overall metrics and ultimately that bottom line of profitability. So in terms of the qualitative idea generation, we've got things like Net Promoter Score. We've all probably heard of that. Many of us have probably used it. That is, again, a very valuable thing to do. Hotspot and heat map analysis. Another one, jobs to be done surveys. Now, jobs to be done surveys, I'm a big fan of. A little example of this is we did a jobs to be done survey for a sports nutrition brand. Now, what's interesting is that the sports nutrition brand thought that they had a customer who was 25 to 30, who was playing sport all the time, and were using their sports nutrition brand to basically repair themselves after a big game. Nope. What the jobs to be done survey found is that the job to be done, the core job that that product was doing, was for 50 to 55-year-old females who are looking to keep up their general health and wellness. So when you go and ask these questions, where you sit down with customers and you find this information out, all that information can then be used in terms of your conversion rate optimization to change copy, to change landing pages, to change sales funnels, and that then in the end leads to that improvement in your overall profitability. Quantitative idea generation, so things like cohort analysis, RFM analysis, I'm going to talk a little bit later on, but then both of these two streams here then feed into those CVO outputs. So the things that we're actually doing and implementing, either as an agency or as a brand in customer value optimization, are come from the qualitative or the quantitative side. It's not just an idea that popped into our head. These are things that we have gone and got a hypothesis for and then got to run them. So what does it look like in reality? Now, I want to start off with a beauty client of ours. Now, they came to us with these 4 key problems. And the first one was they were a big subscription-based business. About 80% of their revenue came subscription. But the issue was, at about month 4, people were churning. They were leaving and they weren't coming back. The other thing is that customers were confused. There was discounting left, right, and center. That was really hurting their bottom line. And, discounting, of course, sign up for 10% off. That's something that we've seen for years. But ultimately, as we know, as time goes on, does that serve you well for your bottom line? And the final thing was that upsells and cross-sells were also not working. They weren't increasing the average order value or their average basket size when it came to their site. So what were some of the things that we did? Now, the first thing that we did is used RFM analysis. Now, again, not a new tool, but in a sense, a very relatively simple one: recency, frequency, and monetary. What you're doing here is you are ranking all of your customers, usually from a scale of 1 to 5, on each of these different factors. So, for example, recency, most recent purchase. If it's the really recent one, it's 5. If they haven't purchased for a long time, it's 1. So what you end up getting is effectively something that looks like this. So we always talk about segmentation in e-commerce, don't we? We need to sell to this segment, sell to that segment. We use segmentation in terms of RFM. What we're looking at here really is the power, the value of each of those customers. And what it basically does is that allows you to then use things like, for example, on-site personalization tools to personalize the experience of these different kinds of people. So someone at the top there, we will call a soulmate. So they score a 555. They are your rock solid, most profitable, buying all the time customer. Whereas it comes down to maybe sort of down here, where you've got a potential lover, not so strong, need a bit more nurturing, need a bit more information to help them then keep converting. So you can then treat those customers differently on email marketing. You can treat them differently by using an on-site personalization tool like Rebuy when they come to the site. And equally as well, the messaging that you're using to them in things like SMS can also be changed depending on where they are. And the goal really here is we want to get people with the lower scores into higher scores because, again, they are more profitable customers. So in terms of the outcome of this particular beauty brand that we had, the RFM segmentation, what it does is it gave you those demographics of the power customers. What it meant is that we then had about 20,000 customers who were the power customers, i.e. those profitable ones. Number of things you're doing here. A, you know what your most profitable customer looks like. So when you go out into the market and using ads or you're trying to acquire a customer, you would then have basically a lookalike audience to go from. And equally as well, the other thing was we identified sticky or toxic products. Now, toxic products, very simply put, if you work with a retailer, if you are a retailer, you'll probably have that one product that you use to bring people to site. What we often find, though, with a lot of brands is that they will have a product that when you bring someone to site with that as their first purchase, the lifetime value of that customer tends to be very, very low. So in the case of the beauty brand, what this was actually a smaller size version of a face cream that they have a standard size for. That was bringing in a poorer quality customer that didn't need to be served. So in fact, with that product, they actually removed that product from sale altogether. So there is often times that you will pick up these things as a result of doing this analysis that will then allow you to make better decisions for when it comes to the products that you have and equally how you sell them. And the final thing as well was the purchase frequencies. Again, with a subscription brand, understanding actually what frequency, what cadence of a subscription, is it monthly, is it every 2 weeks, is it every month, every quarter, though that kind of information you will also get from doing this type of analysis. So again, when it comes to then deciding on how you're going to sell and the type of subscriptions that you offer, you can make a more informed decision about exactly what it is that you're going to do. Now, the other thing here is we talked about, obviously a moment ago, the lookalike audiences, and obviously they mentioned again the subscription frequencies. But moving on from this, another thing that we did here was customer surveys. Now, again, as I said before, none of this stuff is new, but is it used? Very, very poorly. A lot of the time in customer surveys, we often talk about the experience of the customer with the product. What we don't tend to do is ask them about the experience of the site, of the experience with delivery. And all of these factors are really important when it comes to understanding why aren't we increasing our sales and why are we increasing our profitability. So off the back of this, then again, with your power customers, you've done the RFM segmentation. We then go and ask that subset of customers a particular set of questions about, in this case, what are the things that would stop you buying from this company so far? So you get back these kind of answers from them, and with that then, you then again have a better understanding of what exactly it is of your best customers, what they need, rather than what you think they might want or think that they might need. So the price sensitivity with this particular client was actually a lot lower than expected. Because it is a premium beauty brand, I think the thing with that is that we then tended to find that they were attracting a more premium client. So the issues around price weren't really anything that needs to be concerned about, which is not something that initially the company was worrying about. The other thing as well that came off the back of the customer surveys was the customer service speed. Now, this particular client used a tool called Gorgeous. They use that to manage basically their customer queries and customer access. What came back off the customer surveys is that generally speaking, it was taking 48 hours to respond to that. Now, off the back of this, what we did is that we automated a lot of that process with Gorgeous so that it could handle all of the questions that were coming in. And secondly, because we had that RFM segmentation, different segments of customers get different levels of service. So if you have a customer that is very, very low on the RFM scale, the customer service speed that they get is generally a lot slower than the power customers because we know that those power customers are more valuable. And equally, on the last, which was very pleasing to the brand, people love the product. Now, the overall, I guess, impact of that then is the product messaging. That was something that could be then improved off the back of this. And one of the things that we're doing a lot alongside this at the moment is something called message mining. And message mining, what we do here is that we are looking at customer reviews, in some case thousands of reviews, using AI to effectively then summarize those and then using those summaries to then generate new landing pages and new copy tests for their page. And equally, what we've also done is that we have then gone and done the same on competitors' websites for their reviews, to then also give us an understanding about what we could do to message against one of their competitors. So that is a very, again, with this, sort of a qualitative tool, but one that can be used together with your customer surveys. We were able to decrease the discounts on bulk purchase because, again, what we understood from those bulk purchases is that the main issue that people had was the fact that the customer service wasn't as quick and wasn't as rapid as they wanted it to be. And what we also did is we removed the subscription purchase savings. Now, again, a lot of the time, there is an expectation with subscription products that you have to significantly reduce the cost per item when it comes to a subscription. That actually wasn't the case off the back of the research that we'd done. So that margin that they were losing and giving away 20, 30% of margin each time was actually overnight turned off. In terms of impact on sales, minimal, 1% drop. So when it comes to that, yes, 1% drop in sales, but in terms of the profitability going through the roof, that worked very, very well. So these things, of course, do take time. They take effort as well, but ultimately, rather than just being obsessed with that conversion rate, we're taking this broader view, and in the end, what happens then, and we can have a little drum roll here, please. Yes! Audience participation, love it. The results of this client, thank you very much, sir, was here. So looking at the whole mix then, what was happening here is that we were looking at that overall piece. So we've got some nice numbers that guys from agencies like me like to show off about, but ultimately, what I just wanted to show here is that by taking this approach where you are looking a little bit more broadly at what is happening within your e-commerce company or as an agency for your clients, it really does have a big impact on actually the bottom line of that particular brand. And what I wanted to do just before I do shoot off today is to share with you this QR code. Now, what this QR code will do will actually take you through to the spreadsheet that we use internally at Blend, which is called the e-commerce growth formula. Now, what this basically does is this allows you to have all of those different metrics that I was talking about earlier on with the kind of the image of the smoothie. And it will then allow you to say, well, actually, if we are to increase, for example, conversion rate by X percentage, what impact does that make to our lifetime value? So again, we use this for our customers, our clients when they come to us to say, well, look, you come to us to say that your conversion rate is the problem. 9 times out of 10, it's average order value and it's purchase frequency. When you play around with the numbers here and you look at the impact on that lifetime value, those as levers are A, easier to pull, and secondly, have a bigger impact overall on the bottom line of that company. So, guys, that is it from me. As we kind of said there, my name is Adam Pearce, co-founder at Blend Commerce. I'm going to be around for the rest of the day, so if you want to have a chat with me about CVO or Shopify in general, I'm here. Cheers, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Adam. Okay. Thank you. And now we will switch